Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 128 of Roundabout Sports, presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media, where our passion is our profession. Thank you so much, folks. It is Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. I'm the Maestro, Jeremy Carp, and welcome back after a long time, all these months, the one and only, the fabulous Babs.
Hi guys, how are you guys? It's been a long time no see.
Oh my goodness, Babs, how are you this evening? It is so great to have you back with us.
It's great to be back, guys. It's been a trying few months, but I'm getting back to being myself and getting back to getting on the horse, so to speak. So everything is good and gravy. I hope everything is going good for
Awesome.
you too, Jeremy. I know that you just had
It,
a loss in your family too, and RIP to your grandpa. And I am always thinking about him in my prayers. So,
well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. And, you know, before we get into a lot of the more vibrant news, I guess, we'd be remiss if we did not start the show by sharing the sad news that happened yesterday. And Babs, I'm going to give you the floor with that while I put his
yeah.
picture up.
Octavio Dotel, he unfortunately succumbed to injuries in I guess, building collapse in the Dominican Republic last night. He was out having a good time with his friends last night, and I don't know how true the story is, so I'm not going to really go into like what I've heard, but just things were kind of crazy in the Dominican Republic last night, and the roof collapsed at their nightclub that they were hanging out at. And apparently, he was alive for about an hour and a half after the collapse. And after he was brought out, that's when he unfortunately succumbed to his injuries, so to speak. So I am thinking about his family today and everybody that he was affected by in baseball, because obviously he was with more teams than the Cardinals. I think we actually got him in 2011 at the trade deadline from, I think, the Mets. I think that's who it was.
Oh, yeah.
And I
And,
think he was like,
up.
I think he was with the Cardinals for like 29 games. I think that's what it was. I think that he had pitched for us at like 29 or 30 games in 2011.
Well, what is sad is on top of everything is the fact, is that he did survive the initial roof collapse of the nightclub. And unfortunately, like you had said, en route to the hospital, he had passed away. Um, and, he was and he was actually came over from Toronto in a deadline deal that saw
Okay.
Colby Rasmus go over to the Blue Jays. And
Right,
he
right,
appeared in
right.
29
Okay.
games, got 2 saves and 32 strikeouts. And in the postseason, that historic postseason for the Cardinals, Dotel had appeared in 12 games and striking out 14 batters. And it was interesting because former Cardinal teammate Edwin Jackson eventually surpassed this record, but Octavio Dotel actually set the record for playing with the most major league clubs by a single player with 13. Edwin Jackson ended up breaking that record. And so it was yeah, hearing this news was definitely a big shock. It was called I believe the Jet Cell nightclub roof collapse. And governor of one of the provinces was killed, and 2 former major league players, Tony Blanco, was also killed. And
Oh my gosh,
so,
I had no
yeah,
idea there were others.
Yeah, so I know this collapse, unfortunately, this tragedy took the lives of, as of now, 136 people,
Oh my gosh.
and non-fatal injuries are up to 160. So we send our deepest condolences out to the family of all those who have passed, and pray for all those who are currently receiving proper medical treatment for injuries. Um, Also, I do want to say that former Blues goalie, while I don't have a picture of him, I know um, that's on me. Former hockey goalie Greg Millen passed away at the age of 67. He was a goaltender for 14 years in the NHL, including with the St. Louis Blues, and became a fan favorite. And he loved playing in St. Louis as well, but the team ended up trading him, um, especially because there was a college free agent in the wings waiting as to be goaltender by the name of Curtis Joseph. So Millen was eventually, for lack of a better term, pushed out in St. Louis.
There's
So
a funny story about Cujo actually out there that who was the player that just passed Wayne Gretzky's goal
oh,
number?
Alexander Ovechkin.
Yeah, so Ovechkin, apparently Budweiser from St. Louis has sent special beer cans to any goaltender that never got scored on by Ovechkin, and Cujo was one of them.
Oh my goodness. Well,
And
I have to
those
ask
beer
because
cans are really, really awesome too because they're almost gold encrusted and they look like
right.
I don't know. I'll post a picture on our Facebook page whenever I see it, but they're really, really cool. It's got Ovechkin's every single goal that he's ever scored. It's on like really, really like finely engraved on the can, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah. Um, and that's interesting because he did play until 2009. Obviously, Ovechkin has been playing in the NHL for well longer than that. I believe it was as a playing career in total started in 2001, but he actually was drafted first overall in the '04 entry draft. So, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
let's see. So
But
yeah,
yeah, speaking of the
and
Blues,
now
the Blues were on a winning streak here lately, weren't they?
yes, the Blues had themselves a nice 12-game franchise record, 12-game winning streak that unfortunately had to come to end at some point or another. Today at 9 o'clock, they'll be taking on the Edmonton Oilers in Edmonton.
Well,
And it's interesting
look
because
at it
right
like this.
now,
If
um,
you're going to lose a streak, it better be to the best in the league. And the Jets are the best in the league right now. So it at least makes sense. At least it wasn't, against someone like, sorry, Mason, but against the Sabres or anything like that. So,
yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing. If the Blues win tonight against Edmonton and the Flames lose to the Ducks, both have to be in regulation, because overtime, points have an effect on this. But if the Blues win in regulation and the Flames lose in regulation tonight, the Blues will officially clinch a playoff berth.
oh, that's
And
nice.
funny because teams like the Canucks and the Minnesota Wild definitely were in prime position to make the playoffs this season. And at least for Vancouver, that slipped away, whereas Minnesota's hanging on at this point. But I look at how the Blues are, and here's a funny thing. A win over the Blues and a loss from the Flames will punch the ticket for the Oilers to get into the postseason. Now that doesn't mean that the Blues are out. It just means they would clinch first. Now There are only 3 games left in the regular season. So they've set themselves up to succeed pretty well. Now, this is to me the most interesting stat of all. Since the Four Nations face off in January, the St. Louis Blues only have lost 3 regulation games. They are right now, if I remember correctly, 43, 29, and 7 with 93 standings points. And they're in the top wild card spot in the Western Conference. And they're hot at the right time. And it's quite frankly pretty scary to see.
Actually, they kind of remind me of the 2019 team that kind of went on a tear at the end and got in, and then they ended up winning the cup. I keep telling my mom this all the time.
Well, yeah, I could really see it, and we can only hope that that's the case this time. Now, folks, before we move on, I want to say, for those tuning into Roundabout Sports, you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, and anywhere else where you stream your podcasts. Be sure to follow Interstate 70 Sports Media on Facebook, on X, and on YouTube. And Roundabout Sports, we also have our own Facebook page as well. And if you want to be an advertiser with us at Interstate 70 Sports Media, be sure to shoot us a DM and talk to our business manager and head of marketing, Jared Shannon, for more details on that fun endeavor. Now, as fun as it is seeing the Blues start off struggling and then end the season hot, if only the Cardinals would do that, because instead the Cardinals started off hot this season, and they've honestly crapped the bed ever since. And
honestly, I think the rain took a toll on them.
I mean, look, game 1 against the Pirates was a stinker. Our very own Scott Plaza had the great details on it, and they were down after the second inning 4-0. Now, the offense, bounced back in game 2, winning 5-3, and the pitching did better. Excuse me. And they really had to end that tough 4-game losing streak, because keep in mind they also got swept by Boston. And it's not interesting because
by a huge margin.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I want to put in perspective, like, where the Cardinals are standings. Keep in mind they lost again today, because why not? But right now the Cardinals are 5-7. And they are 3-7 in their last 10 games. They've scored 72 runs, which is second most in the division, but they've allowed the most runs in the division with 74 runs. In fact, they're the only team to allow, I want to put this in perspective too. Hang on, because if it'll let me sort it out, I think the Cardinals have allowed the most runs in baseball. Let me run through and double down just to make sure, because I know the Chicago White Sox exist still. But no, the St. Louis Cardinals have allowed the most runs in Major League Baseball. So isn't that just a lovely sight to see? Oh, good Lord. So, and Nick, thank you so much for tuning in. As always,
whenever we're giving up about, 15, 16 runs a game to a good team, that's very telling. And can I make a very, very off-the-record comment by saying, look what happened to the Blues when they got a coach that actually cared.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly like Ali is fully into this right now. I don't know if he thinks
I mean,
because
I know that
if
he
something
cares, but
happens, he's going to
it's a
get
different
fired.
kind of caring. It's caring that he does what the DeWitts
He
and
does
Mo
the
want him to
minimal.
do. Yeah, that's exactly
I
the word
almost
I'm
feel like
looking
he does. I almost feel like he does the bare minimum because I look at Montgomery for the Blues and he has a fire under his ass and he lit a fire under the team's ass and they're all motivated.
He sure
You
did
can't
first
really
day.
say that.
Literally, I could tell a difference from the team from day one that he was there.
Right. Ali is just kind of there. He's just there.
Honestly,
New
Ollie feels
season,
like
same
kind of
Ali.
like a WWE transitional champion, and I hate to make it seem like that, but he really is. He feels like a WWE transitional champion that he's just there in the middle until the next person that's supposed to actually be there takes the team and does something with it. So,
Oh
I
goodness.
mean,
Oh goodness.
I hate to be like that, but I mean
Yeah.
that's the best comp or like comparison I could think of.
You're not totally wrong on that. And the Cardinals, they looked great in their opening series against Minnesota. And it's just been a downhill spiral ever since. And I look at, and I also want to say this: I love Pop Warner, but I mean the guy's been in baseball for nearly 35 years. He was drafted by the Cardinals in 1991, and as a player and a coach, he's been with the team ever since. I want to make that clear. Now, since 2019, he's been the third base coach. He made a terrible decision in today's game. In the 10th inning, mind you. So in the 10th inning of this rubber match against the Cardinals, or against the Pirates, I'm sorry, the Cardinals had guys on first and second with Pedro Pages set up to bat. He hit a single to shallow left, and Michael Ciani, who was the man on second, was hustling the base pass. Now, this is the thing. By the time Tommy Pham, who was in shallow left, had the ball in his glove, Ciani was probably halfway to third. Why you're sending him home is beyond me. It was a 90-mile-an-hour heater right down to home, and there was no way Ciani would have been safe at home, even with a worse throw. There's just no way. And at least 3 steps, Ciani was out. Now, let's just say, for the example, had Warner held him up. Okay, well, you have first and third, no one out, and Victor Scott up to bat. Instead, Victor Scott II came up to bat with 1 out and Pedro at first. Now, I will say in 2022, there was those famous blunders when he sent arguably the slowest players on that damn roster that year, when Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina. Look, say what you want. They're Hall of Famers. They're beloved figures. They're icons of the game. But sweet baby mercy, they were slow as molasses when it came to running.
Yes, they were.
Like there was no sugarcoating it. And so yeah, I just think back to that, and look, I can admire there's a difference between being an aggressive third base coach and just being, not even gonna say clueless, because Pop Warner's a smart guy, and I think that's what kind of upsets me about the whole thing is that he's smarter than these decisions that he's making.
Well, maybe it's just time for a reset on a lot of things. Now that our front office is going to look a little different next year, maybe it's time to clean house, so to speak. Not really everyone, but just certain people that, you know, Definitely a new manager. We definitely need like a new hitting coach. We definitely need a new like bench coach to tell Ollie that he's being dumb, and he won't not tell him that he's dumb because he's afraid to make someone upset. I'm sorry, but Tom Hanks said it best. There's no crying in baseball, and it's time to get our stuff together and really be a team again. The Cardinals that we're seeing right now aren't the Cardinals that I fell in love with in 2013. I see no fire. All I see are a bunch of kids out there that have no direction whatsoever, and they're just going out there hitting balls just to hit home runs. Nobody wants to play short ball anymore. Nobody wants to get the next man on. It's always, hey, look how far I can hit this home run. It's not all about home run balls. Only home runs whenever it needs to be. And I see that a lot.
So here's this. I'll ask you this then. If you are talking about cleaning house, where do you start?
Well, since, Mo's going to be gone next year, we really can't start there because we've got, I can never remember his name, Chime, or something like that coming in.
Chaim Bloom.
Chaim, or whatever. But yeah, Mo's already gone. So my thing is starting off with a new manager, and not just any manager that's, 15 years old and used to play for the Cardinals for 2 games and someone that, whatever. We need someone that actually knows how to run a ball club and actually knows how to run a team. And my theory about that is Yachty. And since he's already got kind of a position in the company already that he's kind of, I don't want to say abandoned, but he's just really not shown up for right now. I wonder if there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean that is true. Because at this point, I do think.
Well, let me piggyback off of that too, because Matt Holliday was supposed to be our bench coach, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks later that news just kind of went all away and nobody knew anything about it, and it was just really bizarre, and I wonder why that is a thing too.
Because I don't know if it has anything to do with Jackson Holliday being with the Orioles, if it has anything to do with just wanting to be that family man and that kind of that baseball mentor, as well as being a father figure. But something happened behind the scenes that he just didn't want to be a part of the Cardinals.
It was just very bizarre because everyone was so excited about it, and they made posts, and everybody was like, yeah, we're getting on the board, and then all of a sudden it was like we weren't supposed to talk about it anymore, and it just kind of quietly went away, and Holiday was just like, yeah, I don't think so. I think I'm just going to watch my kid play ball and blah, blah, blah. But obviously there was something there for him.
That's true. Yeah, I do. I will agree. I will definitely say, yeah, that is true. Is that the story, like Holiday becoming the bench coach and suddenly not being bench coach, that whole thing just kind of faded from existence fast.
And I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to say that something is going on behind the scenes because I honestly don't know. But coming from it as a fan, looking from the outside in, that's not really a good look for your team either. Because that makes it seem like former players. Oh, and speaking of that, former players being denied going to help at spring training that people had specifically asked for, that's also another problem.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that one's true as well.
So I'm just kind of interested to see what's going to happen with the next year's team after Mo's gone. Because if they're trying to groom the young guys with players that are current now but are have the stats of, unfortunately, no offense to him, but John Jay. I mean, what kind of a ball club do they expect to have?
Right. But here's my question. I mean, I'm not going to say the team itself is throwing in the season
No,
because
I'm
that's
not either.
not what
I'm
any team.
totally not either.
But do you think that there's some people within the organization that, and obviously this is just a speculative thing, that are kind of thinking to themselves, well, next year we're going to have new up front management. We're probably going to have a new manager. Like, I don't think Ollie's getting fired this year. I think next year he's gone, because they're going to want to start a whole new cycle. But unless something significant happens, like if the Cardinals win the series, I don't think Ollie would get fired if they win the World Series. But if they
Yeah,
have another
and
mediocre season like last year,
and it's like I said,
like,
I'm not saying that the kids don't care and they don't want to go, that they're not fired up to play, but there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no spark anywhere. And I was at opening day, and normally opening day, you're elbow to elbow with people, and you're just, oh my gosh, there's so many people here. Like, I had 10 seats next to me that were open on opening day on both sides. I had 10 seats on both sides of me open on opening day. When is the last time Cardinals have ever had that low of a attendance for an opening day, even during rain?
yeah, well, I mean, you're also keep in mind we saw the record of the lowest recorded non-pandemic attendance at Busch Stadium 3 twice get broken in consecutive days.
Oh yeah,
Like as
and
low as
and
20,000 people.
I love the Cardinals, and I keep repeating myself and saying this. I kind of stopped caring when they decided to be real estate agents more than a baseball team. And they started celebrating taking seats out of Busch Stadium, saying, hey, there's more beer pavilions that you guys can hang out to. But yeah, but you took out 300 seats that used to be fans now. So why are we celebrating this?
That is true. Damn, that's actually kind of
Oh,
crazy to
Nick
think about.
Nick Helsley said, when will we see Tink Henson? I honestly don't think that we're going to see him until after August.
We might not see it until next year. First off, he's on the
Yeah.
60-day DL right now. So he's already injured and he's going to miss multiple months. On top of that, yeah, I don't think the Cardinals are also in any rush to throw him up here. And I don't blame them. I say wait till 2026. New management, kind of bring new faces in, see what you got. Like, I like the rotation we have for the most part. But this team they need more consistency because right now they are not doing it one bit. They're not being consistent and
Well, and it's like I said,
like,
it
come on.
feels
They
like it.
scored the most runs in the division, but they've allowed the most.
Oh yeah, and it's like I said, I feel like there's no spark and there's no direction anywhere, and it's just a whole bunch of 5 year or 15-year-olds, I'll say, going out there and playing ball like they're at the Sandlot for 5 hours, and it's just like there's no coach, there's no hey you need to do this, hey you need to do that. It's just like they're all coming in for a 9 to 5 paycheck and they're stuck doing the same job. I feel like that's exactly what everybody is doing right now.
Yeah, I agree. Folks, you're tuning in to Roundabout Sports. I'm the Maestro Jeremy Carper alongside the fabulous Babs. We're going to take a brief intermission and then stay with us as we're going to be talking about the Battlehawks, the Chiefs, and much more. You won't want to miss it. All right, folks, welcome back to episode 128 of Roundabout Sports, presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media. I'm Maestro Jeremy Carp alongside the amazing Babs. And Babs, I want to hand the floor to you for a moment because this is not only your return episode, but you have some big news you want to share with all of us in regards to future projects. So I'm going to hand.
I do. I have reached out to Michael Langston. He has been a former guest on our show, and he's also a Cardinals insider for the Cardinals. And I had reached out to him, I'd say a couple of weeks ago, about doing a show about nothing but the history of the Cardinals. So he has agreed to do that. So about once a month, whenever he is available to do the show, we're going to have a new show called The Cardinal Way. And we're going to speak about, we're going to just talk about pretty much everything that's happened from now until like the beginning of time, pretty much. So I am really excited for that and be looking for that on the page. And I think we're going to be starting that in a couple of weeks whenever he has some downtime from the Cardinals. And I'm really excited about it. And I hope that you guys tune in. It probably will not be a live show because we'll probably record it and put it out later on just to help out with his scheduling and my scheduling. And I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to talk about players, times of history, like, the 2011 World Series and all of that. So I really hope you guys join us, and I really hope that you guys really enjoy this because it's something that I'm really, really excited about. And I just can't wait to tell stories about baseball with you guys. I love telling stories about baseball and just things in general, so I'm very excited. So please join us and be looking for that on the page, guys.
All right, I'm so excited about that. I'm Michael Langston, who is a longtime guest and friend of Roundabout Sports. I'm excited. I know I love his passion for not even just the Cardinals, but the history of the game. So I think it'll be a perfect combination. And for one, am really looking forward to it.
And the last time he was on, I could have kept him there for like 9 hours just talking baseball. And I thought it was really, really great the last time we had him on, and it was so fun. So I'm really excited about it.
That's fantastic. We're going to kick things off now with our second half to continue to talk about, before we get into some Kansas City news, I want to talk about the St. Louis Battlehawks because they're the only team in the UFL that's truly drawing a crowd. Okay, so I want to talk about right now. First, I want to talk about who I consider the early front runner for UFL MVP. And that's Jacob Sailors, the running back of the Battlehawks. Now, against the Brahmas last week, in which the Battlehawks won 26-9 against San Antonio at the Dome. Sailors tied the single game UFL record for rushing touchdowns with 3, and he only had 11 carries for 46 yards. However, one was a 20-yard touchdown run. He has scored 4 rushing touchdowns in 2 games for 216 yards and 6.4 yards per carry. I like this Battlehawks team because the biggest thing regarding them is, first off, the biggest thing about them that I love seeing right now is quarterback Manny Wilkins. So the former Arizona State product, he's been quite efficient in the pocket, but what makes him fantastic to me is that he is just as efficient out of the pocket. Last year, look, A.J. McCarron is a very good pocket quarterback, but that's what he is, a pocket passer. You get him in the pocket, he's done for. We've needed a quarterback that really can scramble, make throws on the run, as well as throws in the pocket. And right now, Wilkins has completed more than 76% of his passes for 351 yards. And he's the only QB with more than 35 pass attempts who has yet to throw a pick. Now, last year he was the backup to A.J. McCarron, but now he is the pure starter. And Max Duggan is the backup, although we thought heading into the first week of the season they were going to go back and forth as far as a rotation thing. Obviously, that is not the case. So I love how he has played so far. And, last week, Wilkins had 162 passing yards, 58 yards on the ground. Rodrigo Brakeland chipped in with 2 field goals. This was a balanced offensive attack that St. Louis has on their hands, but they're more run-oriented, which is great old school style. And it's going to lead, to me, in my opinion, to great success this season. There was a highly disappointing end to last season. So, yeah, I definitely am.
Can I ask a really quick question?
Yeah.
Okay, so when XFL came back, the whole feel of the XFL was different. Like it almost felt, the old XFL was very gimmicky, and Vince McMahon ran and very different. And you had He Hate Me and all of this stuff. Whenever they came back, it almost felt like they were a real football league. Oh, and I don't take that as me being mean. I'm just saying it just felt like it was more professional. Not a lot of gimmicks, not a lot of, like power bombs in the end zone and stuff like that they used to have. And is that feel still there, or has it kind of died off since COVID?
Well, okay, so now that is this is the interesting thing about the UFL now. They came back after COVID. The intensity, the excitement in St. Louis was still there. The fan support in St. Louis has not wavered one bit. The ratings even were good for last week's San Antonio-St. Louis game, even though it was on FS1 and FS2, which is obviously not prime sports network television stations.
Right. Well, no, and I don't think anybody's expecting that either.
No, but almost over 500,000 people tuned in for the game, which is, to me, a hell of an accomplishment. Now, with that said, you're talking about the feel. It feels like this is professional football. Like these are players who either were in the NFL or are looking to be in the US or in the NFL. Like this is that kind of that breeding ground almost for these
So
guys.
basically, XFL is kind, or UFL. Like, sorry, it's not the UXFL anymore, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like the NXT of the NFL. Is that what I'm getting now?
In a way, players can sign to UFL rosters from, or they can sign to NFL rosters from UFL teams, and they're free to sign to UFL teams. But yeah, a lot of teams look at the UFL as kind of their developmental and seeing, scouting out potential prospects. Like I expect Manny Wilkins to get some looks from teams if he keeps up the great season he's having. Um, and it's just fun. It's fun having professional football back. It's fun with the tailgating. St. Louis is just so riled up because of it. I love it.
Well, and honestly,
So
since the Rams debacle, I honestly think that St. Louis deserves something to be excited about, and I think the Blues are doing that for us. And I think, the UFL is, because I see a whole bunch of people that are really excited that we even have a football team. So I honestly think that maybe the NFL should look at us again for maybe a team later on down the line. But I know that won't happen because of what happened. But I honestly think that they should, though.
well, it's funny. It brings up the question about so a lot of people think that the Cincinnati Bengals could very well relocate after this season. Their stadium lease is set to expire, and they've had no signs of renewing it. Now, of course, every time you have the odds makers talking about where they could go. And one of the cities is going to Chicago, going to, because why not give Chicago a second team? San Antonio, San Diego,
That's working so
Orlando.
well for
And
baseball.
then here's one I always thought was interesting was look, Salt Lake City. They just got a hockey team, an NHL team, so who's to say they wouldn't get a NFL team? So
I honestly, and that's kind of funny that the youth said the Bengals, because I I don't know. I kind of have a soft spot for them too, because I claim Cincinnati as my second home, just because that's where all my other second family is, and that would be kind of cool to see them here. But I don't see them coming here. I honestly, your Salt Lake idea would probably become a thing more than us at this point.
St. Louis, that's for sure. Yeah, I don't see St. Louis getting an NFL team,
Unfortunately.
and
Oh, and by the way,
but you
hi
know what?
Jimmy.
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry, I
I'm not
didn't
even.
mean to not say hi.
Yes, hi Jimmy. How's it going, buddy? Jimmy Harris Sr. from the St. Louis Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame. I want to say though, look, what so if the NFL doesn't come back to St. Louis, who gives a damn? I'm having fun with the
Right.
UFL as long as they stick around. Now, my problem with the UFL is I do feel it's a poorly ran league from a marketing standpoint, from a business standpoint. Look, I get the economy's bad and inflation and all that crap's high, but there is stuff in there. There was a basic ass hat. I mean, it was a black hat with the Battlehawks logo on it. And my girlfriend could have done a better job making it. And it was being sold at the team store for $65. Now, some of this is because I feel that they're not making enough money with these other teams, so they have to upcharge just to try to get some sales, but it ain't the way to go. Right
Got-
now, I almost feel like, and I'm going to have to type something up on this because to me, I feel like the fate of the UFL rests in St. Louis hands.
I mean, really, if they're selling hats for $60, that kind of reminds me of the PTSD that I got from rock candy one time that I got.
Oh, yeah.
the mall and I wasn't paying attention to the prices at all and just kept filling and filling and filling. And then he was like, that'll be $75.22. And I was just like,
Uh-huh. Exactly.
I'm so sorry. Gosh,
yeah,
you can get rock candy for that price. I'm just saying.
Right.
Oh, man.
It's
$60 for a hat. Weren't they selling those at Rally House for like $20?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it was so basic. If there was something unique about it, it would be something, but there wasn't.
Well then. Well, I do know this, and I don't follow football, and I won't even claim that I do. But I will say this: that it seems like St. Louis is the most excited for any of it.
Well, I'll tell you this: with the Blues and the Battlehawks and City SC, we got a lot to be excited about. Notice I didn't say the Cardinals in there because we ain't got shit to be excited about with them right now, and I'm standing on that until they give me a reason to think otherwise.
Hey, if we could just have Ivan Herrera stay healthy and hit 3 home runs every game, I mean, that would be great.
Yeah, too bad the pitching would probably allow 4 home runs every game, and we'd lose by 12.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right, folks, we're going to keep going. Babs, you know what? There is something I know you wanted to talk about for a while now. I believe it was MLB The Show. You wanted to talk about the newest MLB The Show game. So I've yet to play it. So I'm going to give you the floor. I want you to tell us your experience playing it thus far.
Okay, yeah, like the new MLB for The Show 25 came out on all the consoles here, I'd say a few months ago. And I haven't personally played, but I watch a lot of people play on other platforms and stuff like that. And it has been really, really good to watch this game. Just from the graphic changes, there's a whole bunch of extra stuff that you can get. There's actually a trading card part of it where you can open packs and you can have different types of cards, kind of like the Topps cards that you get from the store. And you can trade with people on the game and you can sell them to the game and other things like that. So it's been really cool to see. And a lot of people are very excited about it, and it's really awesome. And you guys should really get the game if you are into that kind of thing, because it's like I said, 3 years ago on the game, the graphics from this game, everyone was cross-eyed. Everyone had cross eyes. Everyone was very pixelated and all of that. And all of that has been changed. You almost look like you're watching an actual game on TV. That's how well these graphics are now. And it's like I said, you can do trading cards, and it's so very fun to play. And you guys just need to check it out. It's really cool. And this is coming from
it's been a hot minute since
non-gamer person.
It's been a hot minute since I've played a WWE, an MLB The Show game. So
and the pitching on the game is a lot easier too, apparently. It's more realistic. You just pick your pitch and it does it for you. There's none of the timing and stuff like this anymore. It's just pick your pitch and you go. And I think that's awesome too. And it cuts down on the time of the game too a little.
Okay, I mean, that's not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Well, folks, to finish it off, I do want to talk about the brief thing regarding the Kansas City Chiefs to close the show. So give me just 30 seconds while I kind of hang on. There we go. Okay. So, as you know, there's been a big controversy surrounding the Kansas City Chiefs when it comes to St. Louis. With Kansas City, whether they're moving to Kansas City, Kansas, or staying in KC. Where the hell are they going? I don't know. Well, Chiefs owner Clark Hunt is aiming to decide this summer whether to renovate Arrowhead Stadium or build a new one, according to multiple sources close to the situation. The determination will be if the team remains in Missouri or moves to Kansas.
Didn't the voters
Recently, Hunt
know on
revealed that
that?
both. Well, this is where it gets interesting. So, last year, Jackson County, Missouri voters rejected a proposed sales tax measure that would have funded renovations at Arrowhead, as well as a new ballpark for the Royals.
Right.
And according to a recent poll, fans want a stadium that maintains local, allowed environment and allows tailgating. And Hunt is also considering the possibility of building a dome to help it increase the chances of hosting the Super Bowl and other different major events. Now, whether or not now, and this is the thing, Joel Sherman also has made it clear like they want to build a new stadium for the Royals. Obviously, I don't think there's a problem with Arrowhead. But I'm also not a greedy billionaire, so what do I know?
Well, my thoughts are the Royals haven't really done anything since their last World Series run that they had in, I can't even remember what year it was. So are they really producing the revenue for that?
Well, here's the thing. The Chiefs' lease at Arrowhead runs until 2030. So they're going to be there at least until then. Now, the state of Kansas has expressed interest in having the Chiefs and the Royals both in their state with a proposal to fund new stadiums through bonds and revenue from sports betting, the lottery, and taxes. And, it's interesting because
if you win the lottery, we're becoming best friends, Jimmy.
Yeah, I've heard that before from people. And last January, they would remain in Jackson County if voters approved the 3/8 sales tax extension, which included a downtown stadium for the Royals and renovations for Arrowhead, which obviously did not help happen. So it is interesting. Apparently, the Chiefs are leaning towards moving to Kansas. So, Bob Fesco of 610 Sports Radio says he doesn't know if it's too little too late for Missouri to get involved, but this is something that he says should have been happening all along. And Jimmy says, yeah, if I win the lottery and buy a team, there you go. Gotta love me.
It's like I said, if you win the lottery, I'm sorry, we became best friends, and it's just an automatic thing now.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh my goodness.
Honestly, to like just round it all up, I honestly think that moving to Kansas would be a bad move for everyone involved because people obviously don't want them there, and people obviously like where they're at now, and they just don't have the revenue, especially for the Royals, to even think about doing something like that. If they're going to do anything, they need to upgrade what they've got.
Right. I get that.
I mean, the Chiefs are another. Yeah. I guess the Chiefs are different because they've won Super Bowls back to back to back to back to back to back to back, and they have the money for it. But it's like I said, the Royals just do not, though. Bobby Witt Jr. cannot build a whole baseball field by himself.
Right. Well, folks, we're going to wrap it up this week here on Roundabout Sports episode 128. First, I want to say, Babs, it is amazing and such a blessing to have you back with us on a
It's
weekly
great to be
basis to
back.
get the ball rolling again.
And thank
I
you
want
guys
to
for
thank
being
everybody who
patient with
tunes in.
me.
Well, absolutely. I mean, come on. You're one of our ride or dies. We're in this. Um, as always, Roundabout Sports is on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, and anywhere else where you stream your podcast. Be sure to follow Interstate 70 Sports Media on Facebook, X, and on our official YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Be sure to follow Issues with Wrestling, the Other Guys Sports Podcast, and the Blues Fan Forum podcast as well. Just some of the amazing shows as a part of our network of shows. We always end the show by putting up the NAMI helpline, and for that you dial 1-800-950-NAMI. That is 1-800-950-NAMI. The National Alliance of Mental Illness is a United States-based nonprofit, nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for those who struggle um, with mental illnesses. And of course, we end the show as always by putting up the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. For that, you dial 988. The line is open 24/7, 365, 366 on leap years. Understand you're never alone in this world. There is always somebody out there who loves you, who cares about you, who wants nothing but the best for you. We struggle, we go through struggles on a constant basis of different ways, shapes, and forms every day. But your feelings are valid. What you go through is valid, and that doesn't and these struggles don't have to be faced alone. You are just a phone call, a text message, an email, an appointment away from having what could be that life-saving moment for you. And you could be the listening ears and the watchful eyes for somebody else in need as well. Once again, I want to thank Babs, and I look forward to next week for episode 129 of Roundabout Sports. And until then, I'm the Maestro Jeremy Carper, and remember, life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. Good night, everybody.